Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. And today I want to talk about your past. I want to really talk about past trauma and past events that we're holding on to that affect our present and ultimately affect our future selves. So if you're interested in this, give it a like, share it, subscribe, and let's get into it. So first, let's talk about time and timelines. We always think about time as being linear, or most of us who aren't, looking at quantum physics like to look at time as linear. So what happened in the past, what's happening in the present, and then what happens in the future. And we often feel that one thing leads to the other. What happened in the past creates our present, and our present sort of leads to our future. And we see it in this time linear fashion. Everything is happening now. The past is actually happening now. The future is actually happening now. Everything is happening now, here and now, in the present. And it's just how we are thinking, or where we're putting our focus, our thoughts, our attention, our emotions, and that creates the illusion of the past and the future. But when we think about our past, traumatic past and traumas that we're holding onto and how they affect us in the present, it's still relevant because it's how we are holding the memory of what happened. It's not the actual thing. Trauma is not the actual thing that happens to you, even if you do undergo a traumatic event. It's not the actual thing. It's not the actual experience or the event or the relationship. It is the story that we tell ourselves about it here and now in the present that really creates the trauma that we feel and experience in our life. So we do want to go back and reconcile the past as a way to reconcile our present. Really, everything is in relation to what's happening in the present. But if you're looking at trauma work, if you're looking at, looking deeply into your past and trying to heal some of those moments and some of those stories and how we interpreted what happened to us, we can use many different tools, many psychological tools. We can journal, we can do talk therapy, we can reframe things, we can do past revision work, we can do inner child work, we can do shadow work, we can do fragmentation work. There's so much work that can be done to help heal our past experiences and traumas. But when you are doing that, if you are trying to heal trauma on your own from your past, what you really need first is to be understood, to be witnessed, and for your experience to be honored. So often we invalidate what happens to us, or we've put it under the rug, or we've run from it, or we've shamed ourselves, or we buried it into the subconscious altogether. So often we just don't look at these, really traumatic things and experiences that we've had and really have had a witness to them, really have been able to express how we felt and what we need in that moment. And feeling heard, we need to feel heard, but we need to feel seen, we need to feel understood, validated, and we need to honor ourselves, the part of ourselves, the wounded part of ourselves that, felt that it didn't get its needs met, that something happened where we lost our power, where we gave our power away, where our needs were not met, and where we sort of lost pieces of ourselves. We didn't acknowledge ourselves, we didn't get heard or validated or seen or honored in any way to have our deep needs met, so that we could feel accepted and loved and safe. And that's really what healing trauma is about. It's about feeling loved, accepted, heard, validated, safe, right? So we can look for those things outside ourselves. We can use many tools to get that, or we can give those things to ourselves right here in the here and now. Because often trauma, all the time, trauma isn't what happened to us. It never is those things that we feel that is the trauma that happened to us, but rather what we're telling ourselves now, in the now, the story that we tell, and then the patterns and the beliefs that we create out of that create our self-identity and create our responses and our reactions and how we're living in the now that are causing us all the problems. So it's not always about going back and healing that, because we can never undo what was done, but it's about recreating and reinterpreting what happened in a safe way, in a way where we can get our needs met and feel validated and feel seen and heard and loved and accepted and really whole and complete. And that's how we heal trauma in the present. So why what we focus on matters, because when we continue to tell ourselves stories about our trauma, about our past, when we continue to make excuses for our personality and why we are the way we are and our patterns, and we don't make changes here and now in the present to be the person that we want to be in the future, that's when we continue to live out the past. We continue to live out these patterns subconsciously, unconsciously, and we really end up with a life that feels trauma driven, that feels like we can't move forward, that feels like we can't heal. And that's because of how we're relating and the story that we are currently telling ourselves about it right here, right now, in the present. So healing is always in the present. I don't know if you've seen some of my videos about that, but we can do lots of past work, we can do lots of future work, but healing always happens right here, right now, in the present, every single time. And we always have the ability to create any future we want. Any new future we want is available to us. Everything that is available in the higher consciousness of all that is, if somebody has thought it, then you can create it in your life because it's available to you. So the reason you're not is because of the current stories and the patterns and the beliefs that you are holding on to and continually telling yourself and allowing yourself to unconsciously live out in the present. So the only way to create a future that you want is to start now, is to start here, right? So we can heal the past right here. We can create the future right here. But it's about coming to peace right here, right now, with life as it is. The truth is that everybody has experienced pain and suffering and trauma in their past, and some people more than others. Some horrific, unimaginable things, disappointments, right? From mild disappointments to major, catastrophic, life-altering traumas. But one thing is for certain in all cases: to change those stories, to change those things, and to give them meaning. Meaning is everything. You know, if we can reinterpret and reframe what happened to us as a learning experience, if we can draw meaning from it, draw purpose from it, then we can really change and reinvent our whole life. It's when we sit in it, it's when we wallow in it, it's when we let it sink us into quicksand and we really sit in victim consciousness that we can't move forward in our life. We can't create the future self that we want because the past is weighing us down like anchors. But when we continue to allow ourselves to feel what needs to be felt and to see what needs to be seen, and to give ourselves love and acceptance and meet our own needs in the moment, in the present, right here, right now, we can reinterpret and reframe anything that's happened to us in the past, no matter how, minor disappointments to really those extreme traumas that some people go through. And the deeper the trauma, sometimes the more meaning that can come out of it, the more learning that you can do. And when you can see it in this way and allow it to change you for the better, You know, you can be even grateful for the most horrific experiences because you have had the ability to learn and grow and change and become something maybe that you never wanted to or never even thought you could. But with this reframe and with this gratitude for what you've gone through and time, you know, you may have to go over it in many different ways until you're seen, until you're heard, until you're validated, until you've, you know, given yourself the love. But then you can be thankful. Then you can see it from a new perspective. You can be thankful for the experiences that you've had that have given you wisdom and insight and changed you for the better, hopefully. And this is how we grow into the future self that we really want to become. So when it comes to the past, you want to remember it's over, it's gone, it's not happening to you now. It literally is the story that you're telling yourself and holding on to that is creating the subconscious patterns and beliefs that are affecting you and really dictating your present. And that is causing your future. And that's ultimately how you have to see the past in order to heal trauma. That's where healing happens. Healing happens not because you've erased what's happened in the past. You can never do that. But it's because of how we now choose to think about what happened in the past and how we choose to feel about what happened in the past and how we choose to allow that to influence our life, or influence our present, so that we can create what we want to in our future. So past work is important, but remember, healing is always happening right here, right now, in the present. And no matter what tool or healing work that you do for your trauma, please remember that you need to take ownership. You need to step into your present. Take accountability, responsibility for being what you need, for giving to yourself what you need, for hearing yourself, seeing yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself, and allowing yourself to create a new story. And so I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.